Welcome back, everyone, to the Quake Pro League. We are here moving into the next game. It's going to be Base versus Av3k. I'm Zoot, joined by Ketchup, and we will be taking you through the action, of course. What do you think of this one?
I feel like Base and Av3k is just, again, two really, really high-level players from this part of the world, isn't it? You know, Av3k has always seemed to do really well. He's had some exceptional results in Quake Champions in general. You know, DreamHack was a big one for him. I say recently. It was definitely not recently, but it was, you know, within the competitive time frame, I suppose. And Base, I mean, like a people's champ at this point. Base has had quite the journey.
Karate kid. He's absolutely amazing. I love the energy that he brings to his home streams, to the LAN streams, to every stream that there is. It's just awesome, the kind of fan base that he's been building.
But what I love about Base is that he's extremely charismatic, but it's not at the cost of his skill. Yeah, and that's one of the big things about Base is that, you know, there are some players out there that might try and be a bit more of a persona because maybe they don't quite get the competitive results they're looking for. Base is like not that at all, you know, like he's not afraid to be confident and give the people what they want, give the people a show, but at the same time, he's extremely talented as well.
Yeah, and I was just watching on this video, some of the flicks that he does, it kind of shows the type of mouse settings he uses. I know I'm going to bring it to mouse settings in this discussion. This guy has got some super high acceleration, so sometimes some of the shots that you see him hit, they just look otherworldly.
But I mean, that's what his highlights are all about, you know. But at the same time, you've got a player like Av3k who is consistently excellent, and he's a bit of a fan favorite himself.
Yes.
Recently sponsored by Endpoint, which is a really, really big deal for him. And you know, shout-outs to Endpoint for really picking him up and giving him this platform, because him appearing in the Pro League is to the surprise of nobody.
Yeah, this guy is he's a bit of a bulldog himself, actually. I'm sure Gabi will fight him for the name, but he's known for such crazy aggression in his zone. When he chooses to be aggressive, it's like you're trying to figure out how the hell to stop it, and before you have a chance to get halfway through that thought process, you're probably already dead. The guy is so hard to deal with. But you know what, for all intents and purposes, he's the prince to us, and I think I love his look as well. His style just oozes that.
But it's confident, isn't it? At this level of play, you have to be confident. You have to be aware that you can beat any player in the world, and you need to truly believe that you can, because if you don't, you probably won't even have like that next level. You know, when the match is happening and you've got to make this big crucial decision. If you doubt yourself in any way, you're in a bad situation. So you need to be confident every single map that I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna beat this guy so bad.
Exactly. We do have vetoes that we can look at too on the board. So let's see where we're looking at the moment. So we've got Crow to Keep and Veil that are out. Awoken is what we're going to be heading over to first, Blood Covenant, and then Blood Run. And you know what's cool is, though, because we are playing all three maps, we'll definitely get a Blood Run. And these are two players that you want to see play that map.
I think there are two types of players. There are those that love Blood Run and those that can't bloody stand it in a competitive setting. And you know, there are some players that will ban it out pretty much like at all costs. And they're like, no, I'm not going to play on it. But then, you know, like it's mostly the CIS players, you know, that have had this absolute like lifetime of playing on this map for some of them. And it's a map that really favors that defensive style, and you know, you can really frustrate the opponent. And you know, Base, he's not afraid to do that, is he?
Who's got the better facial hair though? That might determine my prediction later on.
I think probably Av3k.
Yeah, marginally.
In that picture.
But they're both very, very high quality.
Oh yeah, for sure. Both better than mine, without question.
I don't have any, so moving swiftly on. Yeah, in terms of this, we're looking at mostly the VQ3 champions. We do have a Clutch in there, though, which technically is VQ3, but also a bit dash heavy. I haven't seen Base play Clutch in a long time, actually. So I'm very curious what he's going to be able to provide for us on that map. And when we do get there, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of analysis for us to do that. It's going to be the map where if Base gets the first frag, then he knows what you can do on that map. He knows a defensive strategy.
For sure. And then you also factor in Clutch's movement too, which is, you know, you do get that first frag and you just have and especially when you compare the fact that there's one champion that can't really move, which is BJ, and then one of the fastest and most agile champions in the game with Clutch.
Yes.
It's you know, two opposite ends of that seesaw, but you know, we have plenty of time until we reach that point. That is going to be our third map, and you know, I can't stress this enough that we're playing every map. It is all about points in these Pro League weeklies. You know, it's the fact that you get two points per map win, and if you 3-0 the opponent, you get a bonus 2, making it 8 in total. And from how the previous two series have gone down, you're already starting to see just how much of a big deal 8 points will make going into week number 2.
I've got to push you some predictions, Ketchup.
I mean, I'm going to be saying this a lot, but again, it's a hard one to predict. I think that was almost like a guaranteed thing to happen this week, is that because of just players in QuakeCon going head-to-head, and then that sort of entire round-robin style they played to determine sort of everyone's rankings, these matches make a lot of sense. So again, I do think it's going to be a 2-1. When it comes to these two guys, it's really hard for me to make a prediction. But if you're going to put me on the spot, I'll say
you on the spot.
I'm going to say base. I'm going to say base because I think on Blood Run his clutch might make all the difference.
Okay, that's fair play. Well, Av3k is global ranking 5th. Sorry, his regional ranking is 5th compared to base's 6th. So, I mean, my mind should be saying that Av3k's going to take it, but I'm kind of agreeing with you. I think it's going to be 2-1. I think base is going to get an advantage somehow. I don't really know which maps exactly. 2 of them, apparently. I just think this guy's just a beast. I think, and I think they're carrying over the shape from QuakeCon to now. I think he should be looking very good. But I'm totally ready. If Av3k's going to kind of blow Av3k. Like, Av3k's going to blow base out of the park, then I'm so ready for that. Because he's so insane to watch when he's in form.
I mean, for me, it's just nice to see the journeys of these players. Base has had quite the journey himself, where I know, DreamHack Tour was the first LAN that ever took place where Base actually really made a name for himself, because he'd really struggled on LAN before that. He'd never had a good result, which would kind of continue the doubt in the community's heads of, is Base legit or not? I don't really know about it. And then, whatever. But that,
controversial.
That was always the talking point with, is he really that good and can he bring it because he chokes on LAN all the time? And then DreamHack Tour happens. And
I'm glad you're saying it, not me.
Well, no, because that was the situation. That was what it was. Yeah. People just didn't think he was that good on LAN, and they were like, "Well, is he just an online warrior?" That was always the talk of the town. And then the second DreamHack Tour happened, where he was one of the star performers of the entire tournament. I mean, it was pretty much impossible to doubt his skill from that point onwards. And I think that was just the skeleton key to allowing him to be more comfortable at the next LAN, and it would just continue to where he is now.
I think people forget actually how much experience some of these players have and how many LANs that they've had to warm into the scene and into their veteran status. So people who haven't had the chance to do that, they need a couple to get themselves going, and we're starting to see that within the scene. I believe, guys, we have got the game ready for us in just a few moments, so we'll get started soon. I think the players are pretty much ready, so stay tuned.
You know how it is.
Yeah, I think I'm going 2-1. I reckon I'm going to agree with you. The Blood Run, I think Base will take that. If his clutch is good, he should, but otherwise, one of the first two. Let me have a look at the picks that we've got from them again. Awoken, it's going to be bases. I think, Awoken, I feel like that. Because I remember there was the Awoken game that Kilton had versus Av3k, which was about 409 to -2. It wasn't. It just maybe closer to the Garpy and Sparty game we had on Molten. It was that kind of feeling to it. And I just think that Base isn't going to have that to remember.
Yeah, true. And then, you kind of just look at the champion picks as well. We talked about the final one where it's going to be BJ versus Clutch. I know when you kind of combine ability versus ability, BJ can kind of shred if the shield's not there, or, I know there's going to be somewhat of a reduced shred because of the damage reduction and stuff like that. Because, Clutch is a bit of a different character from what he used to be. It's a slightly different one. But one thing that doesn't really change is the movement.
It's very difficult to play, though. So we could be completely wrong on that. We see Razy managed to do this kind of effortlessly to get these crazy victories.
For me,
Clutch,
it goes back into talking about how they make it look easy, but it's definitely not. And Clutch is one of the hardest, contrary to popular belief, he's one of the hardest champions in the game to play.
Yeah, and Razy will say over and over in interviews that Clutch is only just getting harder and harder to play. But he's still finding it viable because he's got that experience and playtime in the champion, and he's got the discipline to know, okay, these are the rule sets that I have to follow myself in order to have any success with it. And we don't see that many other players getting success with it. Maybe Wenger is possibly the only other European I can think who does play Clutch very well. Over in America these days, we don't see anyone play it. I mean, Dehang used to be great with him.
I mean, Dehang was
many other people.
I mean, Dehang is an innovator, isn't he? And, before Strog and Pika, there was Clutch. There was the DreamHack Winter, where, no one was really... Dehang wasn't really on a lot of people's dual radar. Yet he turns up and he's like, hey, I'm going to have, most of the time he's going to have Clutch on his lineup, back when dual was, round-based. And no one was ready for that champion pick. And that can sometimes happen now, where even though now this format demands that players use multiple champions, you still don't see Clutch get picked very often. And there's always the chance that when you do it, you know, maybe there's the possibility that these competitive players are rusty against him. You know, there are some champions you're going to see pretty much all the time, and Clutch definitely isn't up there in that list.
Yeah, and I wonder if it can come down to it because of the sort of picking and banning champion format that we have. You are forced to learn a huge amount of champions. Does it get to the point, well, I'm getting through quite a lot of maps at the moment. I'm very comfortable with maybe 5 or 6 of them, which is still a healthy amount. Can I be as strong on these other champions when you get to that third map as my opponent? That's where you start to see, okay, how wide a breadth of experience do all these players have with all of the champions. But it looks like we're here, guys. Base and Av3k starting off on Awoken. This is the first map of the series. We are with Base, and it's like a bit of 2v2, but it's the Gleaner and Visor going against each other.
Yeah, I think I've seen this one before. Is this a rerun? Hello? Check the tapes. But I mean, immediately both players are trying to make as little noise as possible. Base only with an LG, but if Av3k's going to miss the shot, it's unreturned damage. The rocket's going to miss as well, and not an amazing start for Av3k, to be completely honest. Base is going to be rewarded by taking the rocket as well, and it wasted just a nice amount of time to catch Av3k off guard. Gets the defensive rail, but it doesn't matter at all. That's an easy frag. Base.
LG is just hot, man. Just when you watch it sometimes. I was surprised he didn't knock him off the map earlier at the heavy. It was a good ledge grab from Av3k. This is actually not a bad attack. He swings back forward again. That's great dodge versus the rockets. Managed to get himself the mega health. The heavy is spawning, and we could have a very swift turn of momentum.
Yeah, there's so much of this map left to go. You definitely can't count someone out on the actions of 60 seconds, but Av3k just not being afraid to push, even though he was technically down. He just picked that fight perfectly, and he's got a nice amount of momentum. That defensive tri-bolt, though, did somewhat melt the advantageous distance between the health, and Av3k still looking to press the advantage. He knows that Base barely any stack. He's only just been able to collect a little bit of armor too.
He should get a whole bunch. The heavy's up, but Av3k's taking a long route to it. Can he punish him? Not enough. He's on 50 health, 50 armor. Base is going to find a couple of resources, but he just wants to stay alive at the moment. He's not looking for a fight. He gets a rocket on the choke point, but he needs to find his way out of there. It looks like he's like jump ducking. I don't know what Base is doing there, but he did avoid tri-bolt damage.
And now the game of control comes back.
Yes.
Av3k with the mega. He's now looking to... Once again, doesn't want to overextend. Doesn't take the rail because he doesn't want to make any noise, right? But had already given his position away. Base was just in the right position to make something happen, but a much slower game than we've pretty much seen all day, and there's the classic. You know we said we've seen this one on 2v2?
Yeah.
I've seen that one before.
It did stay on the map, right? Because I know some of these get kind of locked up and so on. I'm pretty sure that one, that's a spot. Because you can actually hide there as well if you want. You can put your whole body there. Av3k wants to set up those totems. He's only got one down at the moment. Is it going to be found? No, we still see it glowing at the bottom of the UI. Up the bounce pad, looking for a rocket. Av3k doesn't do terribly with the algae, but the armor has now been collected by the Polish player.
Av3k can't quite get that health bubble on the way through the teleporter though, so he was a little bit down. Didn't get punished for it, so he's alright, but kind of unfortunate that he missed it. And he's still going to have that totem in play a while until he can plant another one, but
he leaves the mega health while, just as it comes up, Base gets it for free. Heavy's up in a moment. Av3k holding on to that zoom rail, couldn't find the angle for a while, and look below Base's character portrait, you can see how much health and armor he has. It is a lot at the moment. This is now suddenly quite dangerous for Av3k, and he's got to hold an incredibly good defensive position. It's good up here on connector, you can get a very good understanding of what's happening on the map, but if you're getting pressed out, he might not be ready for this. Base floats away.
He'd use the piercing sight. He's going to get some knowledge, but no damage. But lack of damage isn't going to be the end of the world for him. He knows how far away Av3k will be to try and deny the heavy, which he can't do at all. Base maintaining the center of the map with a really fat stack at this stage. Catches him and actually doesn't shoot at all. He just tries to put himself in range for the LG. And he does maintain his control just a little bit. Misses the rail. That's an opening for Av3k. He just needs to get some rails that aren't returned. That's one of the big deals. When someone's this stacked against you,
yeah,
any free damage is going to have to be taken. Otherwise, they're just going to chase you down. They're going to trade, and you're going to die.
These wide peaks from Base, like Av3k's not being able to string together these rails as much as he'd like to. And Base, I think he had the piercing sight. If he didn't, then it's an unbelievable shot.
I don't think he did, you know.
I think you're right. That is an insane rail that Base just landed. He's just spamming through the teleporter, expecting Av3k to be looking at him.
I think he hit it without
Av3k
it.
might think that he was using it. So his understanding of when Base is using that piercing sight, unless he was close enough last time, could be jolted.
Yeah, by the looks of the cooldown, it looked like he hit the rail and then used the piercing sight to try and get the chase down one afterwards. And I mean, I kind of feel for Av3k in this match so far, he's had a really hard time hitting those rails. His accuracy has not been on point with them at all, and that's what's allowing Base, I think, to just be a bully throughout the course of this map. That when Av3k has a chance to fight back, he's just not getting any damage.
Yeah, Av3k has got to collect some rail ammunition as soon as possible. Even though he's not hitting anything, he still needs it. He's got to get that long-range damage going, and he's got to understand when that piercing sight is being used. Otherwise, he's going to fall victim to those rails before he has a chance to even respond. Got the high ground. Certainly won't drop down. His rocket's damage hasn't been bad at all, actually, and Base is quite low, but he manages to negotiate himself that heavy armor. Light was taken by Av3k. Oh, that's a really good rocket. He's just losing out on that angle thanks to a good rocket from Base, and he can't close anything out. Rocket jump over, rail just as he picks up the Mega.
That was a really dangerous tone to make sure he can bring himself back to enough health. But Av3k continuing to just miss the rails over and over and over again. He's going to pay dearly. So many kills that he's just desperately needing to land to, even if not to get a frag, but scare Base away. Base has been all over Av3k for a good, well, almost 6 minutes now.
It's still only a frag difference though. So if Base drops the pressure or he starts missing a couple of shots out of the ordinary, then it spells still very bad news for him. I just wouldn't be satisfied with this. Look for a way to carve out another opportunity for a frag, and maybe lay down that aggression a little more. And Base at the moment is just waiting for intel. So I know the heavy's up soon.
We have gone back to this classic game of just trying to get information. He gets a little bit of a rail on Av3k. Av3k still struggling to land some significant damage, but the tribal opening, but once more he needed that rail. He's been able to undo some of the Mega just a little bit. The important thing is no armor, so maybe this is the opening. That
was a big rail drop from Av3k, but the piercing sight is used at a critical moment. He can defend himself and get over to that light armor. He's now got himself a second light armor, so that rail slowly means less and less. But the heavy is going to go Av3k's way. He's going to pick it up for free. He's moving via the railgun. He hits a good rocket. He's put that totem down, but now he's taking all of the damage somehow. It looked like it was such a great setup from Av3k, but going through that elbow position, oh, there's the other elbow on the map, sorry, with the LG ammo box. It's a very dangerous position to go through, and I think Base is just showcasing why.
I think Av3k didn't make a bad call throughout the course of this map trying to play it safe. He understood that he only needed to get one frag to tie the knot just a little bit, but that one miscalculation, that's the danger with being not too passive, but definitely not being afraid to play slow, is that if you spend 4 minutes of the map trying to do that and then you die anyway, you've lost 4 minutes, and now you have less time to make an even bigger comeback.
Well, Base is going to nurse this lead a little bit. He's not the type of player who overplays leads. When he knows, okay, this is something that I can hold to the end of the game, and it's even vaguely viable, he has one of the best defensive positional play in the game.
This is why we're fearful if we ever reach, when we inevitably reach Blood Run.
Yes.
And that's why I think Base's defensive style really comes out to play. Av3k needs to land a rail. Base isn't going to make the angle easy for him. He needs more than one rail now. Even if he landed that, speaking of which, he desperately needed to land it because that was the frag! But he's knocked off anyway. Ring out. And is Av3k now going to turn the tide in the last minute and a half?
Base held his spawn a little bit. Base really needs weapons. He needs to get the rockets. I don't think he's actually picked up much at all. Av3k's got a lot of items. If he can get himself that mega health cleanly, he's going to be able to push this. Now he's starting to hit the rails that he needs. Totem down, I think he's just trying to block in case, but he's also got the supercharged totem, so it's getting him over stack HP. Rocket jump over, they meet each other in the air. Rocket lands on the totem in the water. Will eliminate Base. It's now 3 for 3 with a minute to go.
What a combo, Zoo. What a absolute crazy combo at the end. And the fact that Base never took care of that totem that's creeping behind where power-up normally spawns, it allowed the overstack for Av3k, which allowed the chase to be as crazy as it was. And it's now 3-3. The game's not over, but Av3k's got a bunch of really crucial kills. He is quite weak though, especially when rockets hit like that. Base looking real healthy, to be honest, especially when you compare it to Av3k. Av3k has a bunch of bubbles to take. Totems down too as a defense mechanism, a little bit of insurance, but there's no overstack. That third totem isn't in play yet.
Is Base going to push this? Rocket is going to miss. Base is hurting. There was a chance for a rail. He's going to find the angle regardless. Av3k now has a lead. He's got him off the spawn almost with his totem.
I can't believe the composure from this guy. I cannot believe the composure. Base, he's got to rush it. He has to try. He might be able to get it. Oh, a worthy attempt at the last minute, and he had control for 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
Pretty much.
But Av3k, the clutch master until the very end, did not give up and stayed true to just picking that one right opportunity. And by God, he picked it. What a game.
I mean, Av3k wasn't hitting that many rails until the last couple of minutes of play. We were commenting a lot. These are some many missed shots, but all of a sudden he started stringing together everything that he needed. And, you know, as long as you hit them when it's most critical, that's absolutely fine. We were sweating for you a little bit there, Av3k. At the same time, Base has a lead for so long. He has that 2-frag advantage with 2 minutes to go, and, you know, maybe he chose to be passive a little too soon. He was not hitting the shots that he suddenly needed to hold that defensive position. He's usually so good at holding. I think he'll be pretty gutted not to have taken home that victory.
Do you feel like maybe Base should have just been punishing Av3k harder for those missed opportunities earlier on?
Yes, and it's probably one of the worst. It's like one of the worst and best things about Base. His defensive play is absolutely amazing, but he can play himself off the map sometimes, and when you don't have a full tally on the stack that your opponent does, then all of a sudden it's for them to carve out the opportunity, and for you to just be a passenger in whatever the hell they're going to do next. Sometimes he's very good at dealing with it, and sometimes things like that can happen.
I feel like that's kind of what happened to Av3k by the end, where he was playing into Base's hands, but wasn't, you know, overextending. But he wasn't really putting himself at risk that many times. So Av3k, he spent the entire map fully understanding that he only had a little bit of work to do when it came to how much kills needed to get. And then it's like you said, right, the second he started hitting those shots, it can sound like the most skin-deep analysis in the world, but it really is a thing where if someone's missing all of their shots, and those shots would open opportunities that you can really make something of it, and Av3k spent most of the map missing it, he just needs to start hitting it. Yeah. Because the moment he does, you can see exactly why it's important, because it just opens the door.
Yeah, and if Base continues to play that game expecting to be receiving the damage he was earlier in the game, which, you know, in all fairness, wasn't that much, and he starts saying, oh, well, suddenly the rails are hitting me, but I'm going to still play the same way as I was before, this is not a profitable way to go forward. No, Av3k can be an absolute beast, and, you know, sometimes with Quake you can play a good strategic game, but we are also witnessing masters of FPS, and you've got to be able to land those shots.
So I actually want to just quickly break the fourth wall for a minute and confirm, was that we're actually going for a break now, or have I misheard? Oh, I see. I heard. Okay. No, I misheard. Av3k has a short toilet break, a short bathroom break. I was about to say it's a bit early to go for a break, isn't it? But no, Av3k's going for a break of his own. So it's a good opportunity for us to actually talk about what's coming up next. Blood Covenant is our next map, and you know this has been quite a classic set of games so far. Not necessarily on Awoken, but we have Blood Covenant, and then we have Blood Run afterwards as well. And you know, Blood Covenant is just one of those real classic maps to play.
Today, as well.
No,
actually,
we haven't.
So I'm quite excited for it. What champions do we have actually for it?
Iceland Doomslayer has been selected.
So Doomslayer makes a lot of sense. That's picked by Base. Incredibly powerful on Blood Covenant. There's a lot of long gaps, especially in the upper parts of the map, where you can pass them quickly, get yourself the rocket over from catwalk, get yourself the rail over from bridge without having to nail what is at the moment a hard bridge to rail jump. And yeah, Doom just can exercise a lot of excellent things on this. Eisen, though, I'd expect that to be a bit more of a passive play from Av3k. Put those turrets in good positions, obviously. Try and find some damage on them. Don't just like sacrifice them in the middle of the map and they suddenly just get taken down when you're not even pushing an advantage at all anyway. But, you know, sticking at the top of a bounce pad, for instance, or somewhere you're expecting your opponent to jump across to. So maybe like over by the railgun, and Doom is going to waddle over, double jump over to it. These are the kind of good little traps that you can set. I would put the advantage with Doom, though. I think Doom is one of the best champions on this map.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard not to. Ultimately, Doomslayer just gives you freedom on this map, and freedom means that you can be a lot more creative with where you are. You know, what kind of weird angles you try and pick. You can chase people down, you can run away. You know, there's so many options available to you by just being able to kind of maintain that high ground area. You've got the bridge towards rail. You can go from rocket launcher to the other side of the map as well. It's, if you want to get an item, there are no shackles on you. Yes. And in this kind of setting, it can make a really big deal, particularly at the very beginning, where it's kind of harder to make a read on where, the opponent's going to come from, because, if there's normally a champion that can only go left and not right, because the right you need a double jump or you need a rocket jump and you might not have a rocket launcher or something like that, Doom just gives you so many more opportunities.
Yeah, Base looked very good on Awoken. If he can kind of iron out any of the flaws there, he should definitely take this map and actually possibly even still look good for a 2-1. But then my prediction turns in from what was 2-1 because I thought Base would take Awoken, that it should be 3-0. Because even though Av3k won the first map, it wasn't convincing, in my opinion. Like the aim being here and there presents a few concerns.
But I think sometimes that does happen on map number 1, doesn't it?
That's true. If he's warmed up, then,
I'm pretty confident that Base and Av3k would have been playing practice games like up until their matches. I'm not saying they've been sitting here watching the stream and they just wait for their turn. Obviously, players do play. Players do play. That's definitely a matter of opinion, I'm pretty sure.
You're probably right.
But I'm sure that these players do like to get their practice in before. But when you're playing on stream and when you're playing in tournament, obviously the feeling is different, and it can be kind of hard to shake that initial map 1 rust, I guess we always kind of see in competitive play. But going into map 2 now, Blood Covenant Base with that Doomslayer. Doomslayer's one of the absolute main champions on this map for obvious reasons. That double jump just makes a really big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. Base can hear everything that's happening there with Av3k. Av3k is going to definitely have had a guess that Base is already taken. He knows that his turret went down. He had position on the bridge. So he's like, okay, Base has got all the weapons that he needs. Now let's just be careful. We've got major items that are respawning, and Base is just trying to get an idea from what side is Av3k going to look to come towards the heavy again, and if not, then how can I make this as free as possible an item? He turns his back at the wrong time. He's taking a lot of machine gun damage, trying to go close to the LG, keep him pushed back while he goes down into the underground. Timing on... Oh, Av3k dropping down into the lightning gun. We've spoken about this before. The rockets aren't going to do enough for him, and that is going to be the turret falling away. Ketchup, we've been through this.
I mean, I can only assume right there it was a temporary error in judgment. There are so many ways that you can potentially maybe run away. I'm going to try and be nice. It might have been an honest mistake.
Are we doing a good cop, bad cop?
Might have been an honest mistake. Well, we have to maintain it. We have to stand true.
Oh, really?
Hey, don't listen to that Zook guy. He's a jerk. But now, look, Base dropped in on... and he almost actually died for it as well. But the moment to be aggressive, Base had a much larger stack than Av3k did in the previous situation, and a 2-0 lead just like that should maybe in theory be maybe a 1-0 or 1-1.
Yeah.
Av3k just played that first frag awfully wrong.
Like, he had done some damage to Base, and it was okay, but it wasn't that much damage. Base had already taken a couple of items to make himself feel better, and he jumps in when there's still like 200 damage left for him to do. 5 HP. Oh, Base just crawls out of there. There are items on the floor. Base does not want to hang around in this. Oh my god, the turret is going to explode.
It's very fortunate they actually managed to get rid of the turret, because I know Av3k knows he's there anyway. Wonderful little combo. Even with the heavy, Av3k stack is alarmingly low. He's going to have to waste some time now trying to heal up. That's going to allow Base to now even the odds a little bit. And I'm pretty sure he's confident, knows where he is. He's looking for the angle.
That light's going to spawn very soon. It forgets this lower banana and then goes over to the pillars. I would have liked that. I think Base still is missing a couple of opportunities to go for some damage. But, this is a good position to hold. He's going to end up giving away the heavy armor. He's done okay damage, but I think this is still a net gain from Av3k. Okay, maybe not, because he still hasn't gotten it yet. It seems like he doubted himself with the timing, and he's moved away because Base has got that high ground positioning. So that was maybe Av3k's misjudgment. 2 rails in a row, though, from Base.
He's looking for a third. He's going to jump down to try and heal up just a little bit. That doesn't mean he can tank one more rail. but he's still not going to be in an amazing position if he lands the mark. It's going to be risky for him to try and fight away from Heavy. Base zipping in and out, taking it for free. The Mega being taken does mean that Base is going to have timing as well on the Mega, which is very, very important, especially if Av3k now tries to double back and collect it. But Base sitting on a lead and a stack. If he gets this Mega on return, it's going to be bad news. Av3k's being bullied away. Wonderful positioning, actually. I love that Base opted to just stay a little bit more in front near Teleporter. Av3k was probably convinced that Base would have been trying to take Mega by that point. Ambushed entirely. Ambush 2.0. Av3k tries so hard to get some return damage, but he can't. And that one bit where Base positioned himself near Teleporter to get that entry damage with the LG, catching Av3k off guard, was just the beginning of that entire sequence.
I love the fight on light armor as well, and it spawns, and Base can also take it himself. He knows where Av3k's trying to go to increase his stack. Good little flick shot from Base. These are kind of shots that I want to see from him.
Oh, kind of surprised he missed that one. Almost looked like it should have hit. So close. You hate to see those kind of misses, but
he hits the one that matters though, which is after the Mega health's picked up. That's the one that stings the most if you're a player trying to recoup some control.
That was just Av3k being rude and Base saying, "Who do you think you are?" Rail.
There's the Heavy. He's not going to be punished for it, of course. He's been landing all the pressure at the moment. Seems a lot more proactive on the map than he was beforehand. The double rail. He's running slightly low on ammunition now with that weapon.
I'm a huge fan of Base's just, I think sixth sense of knowing how far away Av3k is. How many times is Base running in and out just to take a power up, and he's getting in and out before Av3k's even having a chance to fight for it? He just knows that Av3k's too far away. Every time he's been bang on the money, and now he's going to try and fight towards this Heavy. Av3k's fighting back. Base with the high ground. Only one more rail though, so it's actually not the best situation, and a little bit of a fumbled 1 versus 1.
He missed what we call everything.
Yeah.
He's landing these little chip rockets, which are really tasty actually. And there's going to be the Mega Health in a moment, so Base has not done well. I actually think one of those rockets was more than just chip as well. Low on armor though. This is some good shots again from Av3k, but we're past the halfway mark now. We've seen Av3k make comebacks. We know it's possible. What is Base going to do to keep the lead this time instead of unfortunately throwing it away in the end?
There's definitely a difference of mobility. You're noticing the double jump having its immediate use, and his issue is he's a utility character because of his turret and the denial and the blocking that you can do and stuff like that, but that's not really going to sit here. I know that rail's going to be good. Base still railable at this healthy Av3k. He's holding the angle. He's looking for it. Now Base will barely survive one rail. But yeah, it is that difference of mobility, I think. The fact that Doom just gets this double jumper can be where he wants, when he wants, and Ison can't. When Base is in control, it's kind of tricky for him. He's doubled back, and even though it's a bit of a game of chicken, Base gets away with pretty much no damage done. Turret is going to give it the reactionary rail just to stop his momentum just a little bit. It forced the rocket jump, where on top of giving his position away, he did so much damage to himself that was an unfortunate and an even worse spawn. That was great for Base, but so bad for Av3k.
Yeah, Av3k's in a lot of trouble now. He was doing over 100 damage to himself in order to get in that bridge control. I don't necessarily disagree with it. I think the first rocket jump actually was very good, but it's just that Base is so ready for it. He's knocking him back with his weaponry, and he can't keep that position. That was definitely a good chance to get a kill, but it's all about that execution, right? Get some nail damage down. Base wants to be a little careful because that turret is problematic, taking 45 damage from it. For Base, it's time to chill out a little bit. He doesn't have that many items he can take, and he's got a lead that he's trying to nurse.
Yeah, and he's not going to be super disappointed giving up things like the Mega at this stage. You know, we've long surpassed the 5-minute warning at the moment. We have about 3 minutes left to go at this stage. If he hits these defensive rails, it becomes so hard for Av3k to press the advantage. And again, we have to constantly go back to the mobility differences. How Base has the high ground and hits a rail, it's much harder for Av3k to chase him down because there are so many different jumps that Base can take that Av3k just straight up can't without doing damage with a rocket jump, of which he hasn't even got a rocket launcher yet. He's just about to collect it. Missing another rail, but fortunately for him, Base also misses his, keeping that pretty much a neutral state.
It is basic clock though, and I think he's just getting the hell away. He doesn't really want to be on the map anymore.
If things go this way and they continue to, this is going to be a pretty one-sided victory here for Base, and it will bring us into Blood Run, where I think that the chance of it being a 2-1 to Base becomes much, much higher.
Yeah, I think if Base can hold the scoreline until 8:30, 8:45, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, yeah, he's got a great chance now of keeping it going. But until that point, Av3k is definitely chasing hard for this. And I'm sure he'll chase hard even afterwards.
Yeah, it's a try at all times. springs the trap, but he takes a lot of damage himself. Can he get the rail? Av3k hits the mark. He's taken a lot of damage in the process. The heavy's good, but thankfully he's surrounded in health bubbles, so he's going to be able to even the odds a bit.
This is a chance. Rocket jump after health bubble pickup. Doesn't go for it. He needs to get past that mega health stack, so picking a fight very soon is mandatory. Finds him. Rocket doesn't hit. It's mostly base landing the damage, but there's going to be one unreturned rail from Av3k.
That base is just out of there. He's not interested at all. Go to the teleporter, but again, the unreturned rail. That one unreturned rail is actually really good for base because it's just going to waste time. It's giving him room to run away. Av3k's now having to do damage to himself to get the speed he needs for those rocket jumps, and it's not in his favor anymore. We're just about to hit 1 minute. He's got to get 4 frags in 1 minute and 10 seconds. It's a lot of work to do, especially when base is being hyper defensive, and it makes total sense that he is. Yeah, I mean, this is dangerous, Zoo. Do you think it's possible?
I think it's possible, but now incredibly improbable. You can see that he's trying to economize with the time in his route. He doesn't even want to take some of the light armors just so that he can, you know, have that opportunity to be in base's face a little sooner.
Worth mentioning that Av3k ran out of rails as well, so he's missing that really key weapon, and the longer this fight on heavy takes, the more time is being wasted. Base doesn't even want to take the heavy at this stage. Let's just keep Av3k away. Let's just take ages doing this fight and then win on timeout.
For every rocket he fires that does nothing, it's like, I just killed another second, basically. Let's do that again.
Like, that was just a victory.
The more I press this button, the more I'm winning.
He wasted about 35 seconds on the bridge. Like, that's a victory. That's what has guaranteed him this map win. 100% base. Tying things up 1-1. Av3k had the first victory. Nice little nail jump, but unfortunately a bit too far away for the cells. And he's just running out of ammo. He's almost run out of ammo for every major weapon. He's just collected it. Doesn't matter, obviously, but that was a good turnaround. And base being a little bit more proactive when it counted, and then going back to being defensive when the stack difference, or the kill difference, sorry, was a lot more prominent than it was on Awoken.
Yeah, absolutely. But good on base for being able to lock down 53% LG in the air. I think there was some assistance for some rocket jumps and some drop downs, and you know, some of those things that we talk about not to do, where sometimes you have the confidence and then very quickly you don't have any confidence anymore because you made a silly move. Base is able to retain his lead, playing defensively for the last 2.5 minutes, but actually doing it successfully. 2 frag advantage isn't enough, but a 4-5 frag advantage there you had. Perfect.
Especially when you transfer the fact that it's, you know, the biggest mistake that someone can make in Duel is to think that it's all about getting frags all the time, and ultimately it's not. It's just about making sure you maintain a lead, isn't it?
Just make sure you've got at least one more than your opponent, and you're fine.
But
how hard can it be?
But there are so many ways that you can approach that, and I think base sort of demonstrated that just now, where most of that match was just keeping a distance and not overextending. You know, seizing an opportunity when necessary, and this was the first kill, which I know you definitely have a couple of things to say now about how many players today seem to be jumping into someone with an LG and giving up a lot of unnecessary damage. Av3k did do that in the first frag, and it all kind of went downhill from there. One bad decision leads into another, and before you know it, it's snowballed. That's going to be this map done and dusted, going into our final map now.
Yeah, that's the... Oh, okay, that moment there, I like the fact that he rocket jumped, but he just got a bit too much verticality off the jump. You want to get one of those nice, like, really smooth jumps where, like, the apex of the jump is just where your feet would land on the bridge, you know. Those are, like, they're really small. Like, Raph is really good at those rocket jumps, so... I mean, Av3k, he's not, like, cooler with rocket jumps, but that one was just a little bit floaty. Now,
we're going into Blood Run, and we have mentioned, and, you know, I know we said at the start, hey, we've got a bunch of maps to get through, but... we've now reached the time where we can talk about it at length. And the champions are going to be important. Clutch versus BJ. It's going to be Av3k on BJ and base using Clutch. It's just going to be a game of mobility, and it is, I think, going to be a game of who gets mobility that first frag.
Versus not as much mobility.
We already know how base is going to play before we've even seen the map, I'm pretty sure, and that's why we're even on Blood Run in the first place.
So I think the way I'd break it down is first frag for base on Clutch. Huge. If he gets it, then his chances of winning have gone from, like, I don't know, let's say a 50-50 to suddenly like 75% plus, because it's much more feasible to play a defensive game with such a high mobility champion. Whereas I think it's going to be not quite the same story if Av3k gets the first frag, because it's still, he's going to have a lot of defensive maneuvers to make himself in order to block that fast-moving Clutch. Yeah,
I feel like it's going to be a map of just Av3k constantly having to chase base. Yes. It's going to be a game of cat and mouse, I think, 100%.
what Av3k cannot let is he cannot let base get that first kill. It is so important, I think. And I think 75% is even generous. And we've got a bit of attack at the moment. Av3k's trying to take that heavy armor. He has taken it. Passive's going to lift him up a little. But dismounting from this is hard work. Lots of LG has been wasted, and he'll eventually move out, not taking too much. But that was a very nasty rail shot from base. He still has a stack advantage. He's going to find him there. Oh, that was almost a full blast, but the rail still lands. He wants to back away somewhat. 12 HP remaining for Av3k, and base is just going to lock it down with that speed.
Base is going to get that first frag. And now, this is what we talked about, right? Potentially the beginning of the end. He's popping the shield just so he can safely get more LG. The important thing there, the dual wield did absolutely sweet nothings. And he's going to lose the ability too. That's a big loss for Av3k. The utility of the dual wield and the kill difference. Base is just making it look easy at this stage. If it's possible, let's definitely check out some base on camera too. Let's see how he's chasing this one down.
Yeah, there's absolutely no shield from base right now. He's just absolutely... He's just annihilating things right now. So,
well, at this stage, it's just, base putting on a bit of a clutch clinic, and this is exactly what we were expecting to see. Chase it down the moment you can sniff it out.
Yeah, he's got that shield up and ready to go. If you can get on like the same level as Av3k, platform-wise, then I think you just rush into him with your shield up and go for it. And
without dual wield, BJ can't stop you either. There's nothing. I mean, unless he just outguns you.
What Av3k needs to do is he needs to find some long-range rails. It has to be damaging. It should be easier to get the long-range damage because clutch is a lot bigger. But what you're going to see base doing is being a lot more sneaky around the corners. He's only going to go into fights when he knows he can deal damage at the same time as Av3k. At least that's like the optimal strategy. Obviously, it's for Av3k to try and force those mistakes a little bit and be a little bit ingenious with the hallways that he's coming from. But this is the dream start for base.
Yeah, this is exactly best case scenario. He's got a massive kill difference, 4-0 when you're clutch on this map, and you kind of look at the consistent stack too. It just, I mean, the easy way I would always describe him is just a bully. Like, clutch is just a bully on maps like these. Like, he gets to really kind of just boss you around and do what he wants. He's got that giant stack to make it more difficult for you as well. Really important rails. Av3k, by all accounts, should get this kill, but base.
Oh my god!
Oh, he lands it. There it is, Av3k now. A kill on the board. Can he maintain it?
This was all constructed from a really cool dual wield play on the heavy armor that last spawned. He pushed on it with dual wield. Base knew that he could no longer defend it, even though Av3k wasn't even doing that much damage with it. And all of a sudden, he's starting to gain those resources where he can have those head-to-head clashes a bit more from a distance. And then suddenly, Base gets a little cold feet, and Av3k's able to commit to a chase. But that's 1 down, 3 to go. And they might not necessarily come this often that he's been able to build these opportunities.
Well, we have plenty of the map left to go to see if it's possible. Just short of 7 minutes. But at this stage now, Av3k, he's got to be careful. Only has 3 rails. He needs to get a little bit more rails. But whilst at the same time, it's difficult. It's a difficult position because he doesn't want to give away his position, right?
Do you see what he did with his... Was he just predicting there exactly where base was? I think so. It's like, I know you're up there. I've just got to get there. They understand what the strategy is between each other.
And that's why base is... I think that's why base is now just being more defensive. He knows now he's got a frag lead, and he wants to sit on it. He wants to play that runaway game if he can.
Oh, hello, mate.
He doesn't know he's there. Look at that, trying to
fake something out.
Yeah, definitely.
Again.
I think he's trying to fake out potential rocket jumps.
But he would hear the heavy army taken, so the fact that he didn't hear heavy get taken is like, okay, I mean, this is a sign to back away. He's going to steal the mega health now, so that's very smart.
In and out.
Use of sound cues from base. He manages to get a major item, and now, all of a sudden, he actually could challenge in a fight. Which could actually be what Av3k wants. But this maybe not would have been what he pre-planned.
I think there's a reason both players have saved their ability. Av3k's looking for the right time to pop dual wield and shred. Base is looking for the opportunity to shield up and then try and outlast. A lot of confidence in the fight, and the next fight we see is probably going to be hyper explosive. There's a lot of this back and forth at the moment, but the back and forth favors Base as long as he's sitting in the lead.
I think Base is going to play this for the rest.
I think so. I mean, why would he care about getting heavy at this stage? He's got the movement, he's got the shield.
He's so far out there. Okay. Small opportunity to do damage. The thing is, if Av3k chases directly, it's like, how is he going to get more than a frame opportunity to do damage. It's just not likely. He even goes through the teleporter straight away, doesn't even wait down at the bottom of the map for some kind of line of sight, which is a lot of players normally do. He is just out of there.
Av3k should be able to get some rails at some point. He is out of ammo, so... The problem is, the moment you jump down to take rails, you lose this momentum, right? You lose this rhythm, this circuit that you can run. He's going to waste a few seconds. This is like a 10-second, 15-second time lapse doing this. And that 10-15 seconds might matter, you know, quite significantly as we go into the later stages. Base is going to play this runaway game for the course of the map, and I understand it. I respect it. Like, he's playing a win. He knows that he's got the mobility over BJ.
This is just... It's such an unfavorable matchup if you lose out on the first frag as BJ.
And not only did he lose the first frag, he lost 4 of them pretty quickly
so
together.
Bad. And I think Base realized that he was maybe getting involved in too many fights when it was 4-0, which is why it happened to... It's now 4-1. And you can see that Base is just off the map completely. And what's going to be very good to see is if Av3k can even close out a frag, or can even get Base below the natural stack, basically. And this is the blood run that Base is almost mastered, I'd say.
Well, I think, you know, we've always said that was a really nice little clean rocket jump, actually.
That's the kind of jumps we like.
But we've always said that, you know, that's it. That there are some players that really like this map, and there are some that very much don't. And it's because it forces and has with it a very specific style that not everyone's comfortable on. But that's, to one man's detriment, another man's positive, right? If you're the kind of player like Base that can rinse this defensive style, this is the perfect map for you.
The funny thing is I don't remember in recent times Base using clutch like this. I don't remember even using clutch really at all. So if he's just kind of keeping some more pocket strats and saying, I know I can get a blood run win if just a couple of things fall into place early on, and I can do this. I think that shows that Base is kind of opening his book of tricks and adding more to it.
For me, the weekly competition side of things as well lets you experiment.
Yeah.
Now, Base is able to go, hey, I'm going to see if this strat actually works out. And if it does, even if it were to never work again and it never picked clutch for all 10 weeks, it was enough to do well in a map, and that map is points. And points are the important thing. You have to take each map as it comes, but Av3k, he's trying to hit these rail angles, but Base is just slightly out of reach every time. He's microseconds ahead, and now it's 2.5 minutes. Av3k has to go a little bit more high octane, of which he is. Base now needs to be a little bit more runaway heavy, misses the magical rail angle, but he's out of rails again. He's going to have to waste about 10 more seconds, and the time is really starting to run out.
Yeah, this is bad news. It's like he needs to force the shield, he needs to get the kill, and he needs to find him off the spawn twice. And he really needs rails. I really hope he realizes he doesn't.
He's out of rockets too. Uh-oh, this is bad news.
He doesn't drop down for the rail, which makes me think that we're going to hear a click in a second.
But the problem is the time he's taking now to chase it before he gets the click. I really hope he doesn't get a click, honestly.
Yeah,
2 minutes left. That's a bad time. Don't do it. Oh no, there's a click!
Oh
my God. Now you've got less than 2 minutes to go and get more ammo. And I think he's realizing maybe he doesn't even have time anymore.
Yeah. From 5 minutes, it was like, this is steep. He made good progress at the beginning, but Base is turtling to the absolute maximum. And actually, to go on to what I was saying about him opening his tricks, Av3k, I don't think expected this necessarily. That's why maybe he didn't, you know, ban out a clutch earlier or anything like this.
I wonder if this map that we're seeing right now might affect the picks and bans of future weeks.
Absolutely. I'd imagine we're going to see sort of the personal meta between players evolve.
And if we now see people do specific bans against Base because they know that this looks to be a pretty dangerous style, even if it now gets banned out regularly in future weeks to come, it was enough to get one map win, and maybe this one map win is going to make all the difference in week 10. We never know. You
need a Solag, you need an Anarchy. That was a really sick rail, by the way. You need Athena, those kind of champions to really have a chance of doing this. Even something like a Nyx sneaking into the nail gun room is totally viable.
But BJ just has no tools.
It's just not a good champion for it.
This is what we are calling in the business a bad matchup.
And Base is going to get away with this the whole way across. It was all about the early game for him. He secures a 4-frag advantage, turns to 3, and now with just 20 seconds to go, he can find himself getting a 2-1 victory over Av3k. That's the headline.
This is exactly what we were worried about, Sue. Is the moment we saw Blood Run and the moment we saw Clutch, we were like, man, I am worried. I'm concerned.
I think that's why we predicted the 2-1 in the end. I think the other two maps were much harder to go by, but if we were 1-1, then we see base going out on a high note, and that's the score there, guys. 5-1 ultimately.
Base is going to take that one over Av3k 2-1. Another 2-1. It's been a good day for that, and would you believe it that these players that are playing in today's matches are evenly matched? Let me just quickly put that down for a second time. It's really hot in this venue, guys.
So
Sorry.
I'm
sweating buckets, and shout outs to hydration. Always be hydrated. Yes. But that was a really good series. It kind of went down the way we kind of expected it to, but ultimately it's why I think champions and maps is the sentence I'm looking for. Yeah. It makes a big difference, and I feel like what we just saw here might affect the pick and ban that we see against base in future weeks.
Definitely. You know, with a player like Razy, you'd never let him get away with clutch, usually. Although I think we might have a surprise afterwards.
But now the people
there's
know.
so many things to ban against him. It's like, can I ban just half the map to waste?
Well, I mean, our next match actually is going to be Razy and Zron, and we already know that that's actually Clutch is the first champion we're going to see in the first map of the next one.
That's the game I'd be most looking forward to today, I think. At least from the EU section, it's really sick. But yeah, very well done from. We've actually been okay with our predictions today. Just saying. I'm not usually confident, but maybe it's because I'm kind of following your lead with them. I'm like, yeah, I'm sneaking in some.
I'm mostly just going by what we've seen in the past. Like, QuakeCon has been my kind of, like, at least this year, because of how things have changed and how things are now with the time duel, I'm kind of going by, what we saw in Dallas, and I'm, trying to compare it with that. Because, I mean, there's not been a huge amount of time from QuakeCon to now. There's only so much extra practice you can get in the weeks when it's online scrims versus the people that you're going to be playing in Pro League anyway. And maybe there will even be some players that maybe they're going to be a little bit nervous to scrim now because you're playing these people on a weekly basis. It's hard to gauge who you're going to be fighting from week to week, and you don't want to give them too much information on how you play. If on the off chance that clutch on Blood Run was a specific strat that he was saving for Pro League, I mean, this is when you bring out those weird little those little strats that you have.
Yeah, you get the value from it. Coming up next, though, it is of course going to be that game we've just waddled into for a second. It is Hron versus Razy. This will be very interesting. Razy didn't lose to a single European at QuakeCon in days 1 to 3, but Hron is someone who has got. It's just a good matchup versus him, so we kind of see it go back and forth quite a lot, I dare say. Yeah, that is to come up. Ruins, Molten, and Veil. We haven't seen Veil yet today.
And what it actually excites me, because I've got the information in front of me, it's Death Knight and Keel. Keel you can expect on Veil, and Death Knight as well. It's just a chance to see a champion that doesn't have a use on every single map. I'm always going to be excited to see that variety, especially in the hands of someone like Razy, who's just, he plays every champion in the game. And when you think about the grind, the Quake grind, Razy's been on that for over 2 years. He's been playing Quake champions pretty much like every day since the game came out, and entering every community tournament he can, every online league. If there's a LAN, he'll try and be there. Like, on top of just being great at Quake champions, Razy just loves playing Quake champions. But Zron's very similar too.
Yeah, Zron's got a very good background in Quake, actually. He grinded a lot through Quake Live, picked up a lot of good skills there. He managed to bring his style over to Quake Champions, had an amazing start at QuakeCon 2017 as the Sacrifice Champion. And I think he's been chasing a very good duel result for a long time. And the fact that he managed to get 5th place overall at this QuakeCon, I think this is the kind of results he's starting to look for, and he's only looking to step it up from there.
Absolutely. Now, that is going to be a pretty star match, and we're moments away from getting into it, but I do believe we are once again going to go for a short break. So thank you for sticking with us so far. By no means does the Quake action end here. See you in a few minutes' time, and we'll be back.